So hello and welcome back to the Improvement Season podcast, guys. Thank you very much, as always, for tuning in. It's me, Pascal Steve. On the other end, it is Steve Hall. And Steve, I was just like, before we went on, I thought like, I haven't really thought about fitness that much over the past couple of days. Just when I'm at the gym, it's training time. But other than that, it's just...
And client check-ins, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But, the majority of your work.
Often we then also talk about things that we have seen over on social media and all that kind of stuff. And I haven't really followed up with anything that has been going on. So the stage is this time yours. You need to actually guide the entire conversation.
I'll come back to that one. I can at least say what my focus has been. And I'm imagining you're not the same as me, Pascal, with this, but I notice I do this semi-regularly where I'll look over my, because I guess you've only had the one show, so it's a little bit trickier for you, but I will regularly look over my old stage photos. I will regularly look over old posing footage, me against other competitors, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if other competitors do this, but I'm constantly assessing those to try and, I don't know what it's doing for me, if it's informing my future or what it is, but I find myself constantly looking for like, I don't know, going back over them, looking at my physique, seeing what I need to improve on to become more competitive next time. So I don't know. I just find myself doing that every couple of months where I will rewatch like a bunch of posing footage. I'll go over my posing, like all the photos I have. I'll compare myself against other competitors, try and look at why I placed the way I placed and that sort of thing. And I don't know. I imagine it's not as easy to relate for you because of only having done the one show.
Not at all. And also, even if I had done more shows, I probably wouldn't care about this, to be honest. So it's something that we've discussed a couple of episodes ago, that it's not as important for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire journey is important to me. I couldn't imagine not to train. But I think that you have, when it comes to bodybuilding competitive aspirations, way more aspirations than I do. And for me, bodybuilding probably means something else than it does for you, I would assume. And that's why.
Which I think is a good, like, it's healthy for you. I mean, it's not unhealthy on my end unless, I mean, it could be like that level of body checking and assessing. I mean, I'm not body checking. I'm just like reviewing old things. I think it's coming. I think it all depends on how it's coming, where it's coming from. For me, it's coming from like informing my process and like a competitive angle, not like a self-obsessed, neurotic body checking or body dysmorphia and healthy like relationship with my physique. But then it's nice. Actually, again, it just is, I think, for the listeners, nice as well, where we have this kind of we have this kind of difference in how we are with not just our own bodybuilding journeys, but also our aspirations and goals and those sort of things, because there'll be people who are closer to me listening, and there'll be maybe, I don't know if there's more, but there's definitely people closer to you.
What does that even mean?
Be more. As in,
are you insulting me now? I take this as an offense.
I just mean the general listener. I don't know how many like competitive. I look at our client base, and then that informs me to some extent, kind of the percentage of listener who are competitors versus non-competitors. And I mean, you're a competitor as well, but we coach more non-competitors than competitors. And so it makes me think the audience, most people who listen they haven't competed, and they maybe never want to compete. I know.
You're trying to justify it, like making it sound less harsh and all that kind of stuff. No, I totally get what it is that you're trying to say, that I don't look like I lift. I'm not a competitor at all. And that's all right. It's all right. We both know that it is true. No, but in all honesty, I think there are probably a lot of people that can relate to that, simply because I've even seen, I think it was a story post of Jeffrey Schofield, where he was asked, like, are you planning on competing? And he said that he has no aspirations in competing, because bodybuilding journey for him is not really about competing, for him at least. Sure. And he is right now looking freaking good. Right? And I think that so many people, and I've had it even with my clientele or certain clients that came to us, probably also you, Steve, who think that if they do bodybuilding, they have to compete. Otherwise, they are not a approved bodybuilder. So, and I think that it is only because not a lot of people are talking about it that they don't compete but do bodybuilding, whereas most of the bodybuilders that do compete talk about it and post about it. And it's kind of like, I don't know, the people who are making jokes of CrossFit athletes or vegans. Everyone needs to know that you are a CrossFit athlete and a vegan, you know? And it's kind of similar to this, to that extent as well, where bodybuilders who do the sport of bodybuilding but don't compete, don't talk about it. Whereas, of course, those who compete, you see it on social media, but also they are most of the time talking about it.
I think also for someone like, I always want to say Joffrey, but I think it's just Jeff. I just think you said Jeff. He's going to have to tell me at some point, like leave me a voice note on Instagram. What did I say? I think you said Joffrey.
Joffrey,
you say Joffrey?
Yeah.
So that's how I want to say it. But I heard Dave McConey call him Jeff, I think.
Oh, could also very well be. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just always thinking about a Game of Thrones, and it's
Joffrey.
Not the typical way for me how I would write it out. Jeffrey, I would write it Jeff, right? And with his way of being pronounced, or kind of spelled, I'm also inclined to say Jeffrey. But that's just me.
Yeah, for sure. And where I was going to come with that is, I think a lot of the time, the people that take it as seriously as what he does, take it that seriously because they have that goal of competitiveness there. Mm-hmm. Like I can't say, because I don't know, if I didn't compete, would I give the same level of focus and dedication towards the gym? Like, it's a big chunk of my day, like the focus on nutrition, there's a lot there. Would I give it the set? I know I'd still give it attention because I love the process and I don't bodybuild. Train because I bodybuild. I bodybuild because I trained in the first place. But do I do some things? And I think I maybe do to in terms of like marginal wins, like it's diminishing returns, the amount of like volume maybe I'm doing on my lateral delts, for example. Would I give the same time and effort to that? Would I give the same level of like assessment of my training and, I don't know, care about the details as much as I do if I didn't compete? So I think someone like, again, Joffrey, like people probably think he competes because like it's his career, like it's like everything that he talks about, and he clearly thinks about it a lot, and all those sort of factors. So I think, it'd be interesting. Like obviously I imagine giving I don't think it'll make a difference if he competed or not. He'd still give it the same level of like dedication and focus as he does. So I don't know what point I was making, but when I'm thinking about a client who comes to me, if they're like, I want to compete in future, I've already got a bit of a like, okay, I'm going to give you a bit more of a hard time if you fuck up on like things I don't think competitors should fuck up on. It's kind of like have that pro mentality. Okay, one day I'd like to go pro as a bodybuilder, where you need to do the stuff the pro does to be able to get there, kind of thing. Or I want to get that, what's it called? The upgrade at work, not upgrade, as when you get promotion. You get the promotion, basically you have to do the job before you get the promotion for that job type of thing. So, but if a client comes to me without competitive aspirations, I'm like, okay, I don't think you need to stress about the details as much. And actually, I think it's healthy for them not to, because it's like, it is diminishing returns.
For me personally, I would probably do it the same way that I'm doing it right now, because that's basically what I'm doing already. Where I'm not basically doing it for the sake of competing or for the sake of looking better the next time on stage or anything alike. And it's just the person that I am. Whenever I'm interested in something, I consume or trying to consume everything that I can, and spend so much time on something like this. And it now sounds, because you've been talking about looking back at your old pictures and stuff like this, and I mentioned that I don't really care. It sounds like as if I'm not spending a lot of time on that entire journey and endeavor, but I do. Especially considering if you don't have any kind of aspirations of competing, then you would really raise the question of like, why are you even doing it in the first place? And why are you spending so much time? And I don't have a proper answer for it. It's just the person that I am with everything that I'm actually doing in life, that if I'm interested in something, I'm just spending hours and hours and days and weeks to learn about it. It's just me. And I could imagine that Mr. Schofield is probably someone like this as well.
Yeah, it's that I think bodybuilding tends to draw that person, that obsessive nature. Like I'm definitely that. Like if I get into something, I'm like, I'm not all or nothing with everything in life, but with like things that I get interested in, if I have no interest in it, like I'm not even bothering. But if I have interest in it, I'm like, I'm all in.
Just as an example, Steve, when I was at the psychotherapist, and we've talked about it in the last episode, he asked me what I do enjoy and like. And I was thinking, I do like work. And I don't know whether this is just a narrative that I've spun up for myself to then justify to work that much. And maybe it's a compensation of something or so. And that's why I'm spending so much of my time of working. Or whether this is actually true, that I do like to be busy with work the entire time. And then it makes sense to have those kind of tendencies with bodybuilding, for example, or other aspects in life, that you're just kind of having obsessive tendencies whenever it comes to things that interest you.
I think you're the same as me, Pascal, where like I won't feel good unless I'm productive. Like I can't, like on the weekend, I don't know, from what I gather, some people just literally like veg out and watch TV for the whole weekend. Man, I can't do that. Like I have to like, at least like I've gone to the supermarket. I've like, I don't know, done some DIY around the house. I've walked Ada and taught her a new trick or something. I'm like, at least got to do something that I feel like, tick, I've done that.
I think many people can probably relate to that due to the world that we are living in right now. Especially that we are confronted with our failures and mistakes and imperfections the entire time, and getting then the feeling of FOMO when it comes to self-optimization, doing something productive, and you needing to become a millionaire by the age of 20 and all that kind of stuff. And I think that this causes some kind of subtle anxiety in our society. And I think that everyone has it to some extent, that feeling. And some people are very good at zoning out, being able to calm down, but it's the same as you, Steve. I feel I'm getting actually quite anxious whenever I'm not doing anything, even though that I'm so tired that I need to calm down, which is not a good combination. And I know this, and I'm trying to work on this as well, because there's no inherent benefit in trying to push the entire time. Having those downtimes I know is good, but still, yet I have a hard time in those situations to really switch off. And maybe sometimes just intentionally not doing anything at all. And I try to, I always find myself trying to do something productive, which then, if you're always trying to do something productive, ends up doing nothing productive at all.
Yeah, my worst is when I don't have anything to sink my teeth into. Like I have to come up with the thing that's like, if I've got client work, for example, that's awesome because I know what I'm doing there. But if I'm like left to like, I don't know, I've just got time and I'm like, like a content production, yeah, I guess I can do that. Like programming, that's all fine. But if I've got like nothing, like I'm got freedom to do whatever I like want to do, it's like, then I struggle. I'm like, I want someone like a boss to be like, hey, we've got this new project, go do this. And I'm like, okay, now I can sink my teeth into that. It becomes a little bit
problematic when you are creating your perception of your self-worth is linked to your productivity and the amount of work that you are doing, because then it ends up in a vicious cycle of like, I need to be more productive in order to feel like I'm worthy or worth something and to feel good about myself. It's kind of like a drug. You need to up the dosage each and every single time, because otherwise the last time it doesn't really satisfy your needs anymore. And then at some point you just do so much that probably you get burned out.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I don't know where I was going with this, but I was then back to assessing my physique. I was like, I might be at the stage where the people that beat me on stage are like pro caliber physiques. Like I might not ever go pro, but anyone who beats me will go pro. Like this is what I'm thinking. Because I was like, you get to a point, because bodybuilding is so genetically driven in terms of like structure and shape. And the more people I coach to stage, the more real that becomes, where they've done everything they could have. They came in shredded, we've come in full, like their physique is as good as it can be on that day. And people come in maybe, I mean, certainly less shredded, maybe with similar amounts of muscle mass, but placed on their physique a bit better. Maybe they have a better structure. And this is similar to both of us, actually. And then they get beat by these people who you're like, you didn't nail your process.
You're trying to give me a hard time here in this episode, aren't you? You really want to tell me something, don't you?
No, I mean, I'm trying to say, I think like it's an unfortunate part for us in that regard. Yeah. But so I was thinking, like, once I've done this a decade, I'm like that close to my genetic potential, and maybe I have good genetics for building muscle even, say that, then like, if I can't go pro, it's literally just my structure, and like, it's genetics, and it's anyone who has done it as long as I have is now going to go basically pro. I don't know. It's a weird one that I was thinking through, just where like with the judging on symmetry and how much that plays a big role in where you place. And it's one of the things that's largely out of your control. You can obviously do some things, but yeah, I was just like, maybe that means anyone who beats me will go pro? Like at this point, I'm
Would this give you a little bit of solace?
No.
Okay.
I'm desperate to somehow change. It's the front relaxed, of course, for people who like know bodybuilding. That's the most important pose. It always makes it, to me, it's strange when people say shows are one from the back, because I'm like, no, they're one from a front relaxed. Like if someone just has that, you can see it immediately as they are in their like symmetry round from the start. You're like, that guy, like as long as he doesn't fuck anything up and he doesn't have any clear weaknesses, he's going to take this as long as he's lean enough. And so I'm like trying to fiddle ways. And that's why I assess photos where I'm like, could I hit that pose differently? Could I, if I build my like lats big enough, are they going to somehow show from the front, and I can build my delts up so they're round enough, and my quads will be so huge that it will somehow look like an X frame. Anyway, yeah, this is where my brain goes.
No, absolutely. And I can definitely see that. And I mean, you're already trying everything that you can in order to make this happen. And if you don't get to the point where you're then getting a pro card or pro status or whatever, then you can at least really wholeheartedly say, you've given it your all.
That's what I care more about.
I this is just me, of course, right? But this is one of the things that I don't really like. If people are complaining, but they haven't really tried it.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter what it is, right? They're just complaining and blaming other external factors or people for their mistakes and failures. But Steve, you've been working on this since years now. And if it then doesn't come to fruition, you did everything that you can. And you did probably already still learn so much. You are still probably much, much happier as an individual than you were a couple of years back, or in an alternate universe where you didn't really try your very best. You probably are much better off, I think. But this is the optimist in me.
Maybe I need 25 years, like Ash.
Maybe it is. Yeah. No, absolutely.
But no, you're completely right. And that's, like, again, this is the all or nothing mentality where it's just like, I can take solace in the fact, and the same for like clients where I'm just like, you can be proud of the fact that you did everything you could. Like, your placing ultimately actually doesn't matter. Like, I would not be satisfied winning a show knowing that I left a lot on the table. I'd be like, man, you won that despite what you did, not because of what you did. And that's not really like,
but I think that rewarding. This is the mature you speaking after having done now several seasons and knowing that the placing means more to you now than just the placing itself.
Yeah.
You are at the point where you want to earn the placing, and you know that you belong up there at that placing and not just hand it over to you. As, of course, other people receive that kind of trophy because they are the only person in the show, maybe. And even in a scenario where they had competitors they would have won, could very well be, it doesn't really feel the same.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're completely right. Like, if you're just a big fish in a big fish in a small pond, is that the saying? Something like that. That's not like an ideal position to be in. And actually, this is really interesting because this does relate to something that was on social media from Dave McConey again. He posted about how a lot of people will talk about, there's something along the lines of, a lot of people will talk about how it's really important to have people around you who build you, like, who require more from you. Never be the smartest person in the room, never be like there's always someone outworking you. So like you have things to aspire to and be better and whatever it is in life. And he said, actually, when you look at like what makes people happy, quite often it is that they are the smartest person in the room, like, and they surround themselves with people who aren't as like, I don't know, wealthy or as intelligent or whatever. And actually the people who surround themselves with those other individuals quite often aren't as happy. And I was like, that's so interesting, because I think a lot of people listening will think, oh no, certainly that first scenario is the better scenario, but you might not be as happy if you're in that scenario.
Funny enough, when you actually said it, and I thought that Dave were in agreement with the first statement, I was thinking in my head, that is once again one of those statements that I think is completely bullshit. Like, honestly, I don't need to have people around me who are much, much smarter than I am, who do the same things, but in a much more successful manner or so, because it also there boils down to what type of person you are. I am someone who's able to do things on his own. And I'm actually pretty good at that, because I can move at my own tempo, at my own speed. I'm very good at kind of digging things up and researching for myself. And also, I'm someone who's very capable of learning things very quickly when I can dig out the things that allow me to learn, right? That's why in school, there were certain things that I could do very well and certain things that I couldn't, simply because also the type of learning material and all that kind of stuff and the way that they taught you certain things wasn't really the type for me, right? And being able to work on my own allows me to really be efficient and to really move ahead. And also, I am someone who has high ambitions for those kind of things. I pride myself with being also a workhorse, right? Just being able to tolerate a lot of stress, a lot of hours of work, and that allows me to then also be quite productive. Yeah. That's why I don't need people around me who are smarter or more successful than I am. Could it be that it's beneficial? Yes, but I don't think that it is because of those reasons, because they are smarter or maybe more productive or more successful. Is maybe then the interaction and the what's it called again? When you have a good vibe together and you, what's it called again, Steve?
Relationship?
Chemistry? Chemistry, exactly. When you have a good chemistry and you complement each other, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you complement each other, you are building kind of like a Power Ranger, right? You are building that massive warrior together. One is the leg, the other one is the leg as well. Then you have two arms and all that kind of stuff. And together they are making that powerful machine. If everyone would be smart in one way or in just one field, would it then still make up the great Power Ranger? I don't know.
You need synergy.
Yeah, exactly.
Symbiosis.
Exactly, something like this, right? And for this, I don't really necessarily think that you need people around you who are smarter and more productive than you. You need to have a good support system. I think it's way more important.
Yeah, and I can't remember. I think I was listening to Modern Wisdom with Chris Williamson or something, and he said you can actually use, I don't know how he termed it, but he was like, if you're surrounded by people that don't like you aspire to, you almost use them as the opposite. So you look at them around you and be like, I don't want to be anything like that. I'm going to be the opposite. Yeah. So I think it kind of comes back to your point where like it all comes back to you anyway.
Man, I can even say, now that you're saying something like this, I can even share something of my past. I still despise my family. Right? Not the family with my kids and Katie and all that kind of stuff, but the family where I was coming from. Now I look back in hindsight and look at things that my mom did, for example, and also my stepdad did, that I find horrendous. Like, how can you do things like these when kids are around and all that kind of stuff, you know? And we were piss poor from a Western societal perspective. And for me personally, I always felt like I don't belong here. And I know what this sounds like to the outsider, but I always knew that this family, I don't belong in this family. And also this may sound very wrong to the listener who doesn't know me very well, but I knew also from an intellectual perspective, I don't belong into this family. They are fucking idiots. Everyone is. Right? And this gave me the drive of just going my own way. And it turned out well. And there were, of course, some challenges and also some potential detours that would have kind of pulled me back into staying in that circle and environment. But I was able to break free from it.
Yeah. I can't continue this discussion because I don't have anything, but I think that, again, it comes back to the point you were making, which is like, everyone's in control. Like, I think that's a good way to live your life, is much more think about like self-efficacy and like obviously in the Western world, like we are very much in control. Like a lot of the things that happen to us, we can kind of help determine the position that we're in our lives today is down to our actions and what we've done to this point. So rather than necessarily getting really down about your situation, see what you can do, kind of that stoic approach, look at what you've got. What can you do to improve your situation? Don't look at what you can't do and what you can't control. Look at what you can control. And that's actually comes back to my bodybuilding with my physique.
I just wanted to say, what were your conclusions after watching your kind of, or taking a look at the pictures?
Oh man, I just look at my waist and I'm like, how the fuck can I make that smaller? Like, come on, make that smaller and then make me like a good like foot shorter, and then I'm a good bodybuilder. But also, I think my delts do not help me. I don't know if I can change this, but you know, when some people hit that front relax, they just have those, but like just boulders, like round, bubbly shoulders. Whereas some people, they hit it and it's just like I am here, like even you can see there, it's just like flat. And I'm not sure there's anything I can do about that. I don't know if it's just like the way it inserts and the muscle bellies and everything there, kind of similar to my quads. They just don't have that nice, like your quads do have that nice roundness to them. Mine just jut out and they're just like, bosh. It's kind of similar. Again,
you don't want to have my connective tissues and joints and all that kind of stuff, you know.
That's something I have concluded is like when I look at my first stage presence, like it looks like I have, and I guess I do in some ways, like poor structure for bodybuilding in some ways, but I have big joints, big ankles, big waist. Like I can take a beating as well, like whereas yours not so much, and that means I have a good foundation to hopefully build a lot. So that's kind of what I'm trying to hang my hat on, is just be like, just come in big, like almost to the point where like we've said before, try and come in so conditioned and so big that it's just like, okay, this guy, you just have to be like, fair play, let's give it.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm trying to move towards mindset wise.
Was there anything that you then thought, okay, this is now what I need to work on even more so, that wasn't as obvious to you? Because I think that you're quite aware of what is that you need to work on, and nothing has really changed whenever you're then taking a look at those pictures.
No, it's the same old.
Yeah. So it's just about kind of spending more time doing those kind of things.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that. And yeah, when I think about what's happened in social media, to bring it back to that, I don't think there's, well, someone messaged me saying there's a trend for failure training coming back again. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure that I've necessarily seen that. I thought actually, like for the past year or so, couple of years, people have pretty much accepted that RAR is an acceptable way to kind of train, and you don't always have to train to failure. But I don't know if you've seen, like from the sounds of it, you haven't seen anything where it's like this renaissance of like high intensity training. No,
the only thing that I saw was that people are now bashing people such as ourselves or RP and Brett Schoenfeld for then studies around higher volume, and now people are then recommending lower forms of volume and all that kind of stuff. And I take it also, I feel that people are also including me in that, which I don't have any kind of issues with. Because I've also then criticized the 10 to 20 sets per week model, the recommendation. So I feel like people are then also addressing me. But at the same time, I'm always then thinking, what is then wrong with you? Don't you want people to change their minds if they have more evidence? What are you now criticizing? Is it earlier statements and now switching back to a different model now that more evidence is being presented? Or are you criticizing that someone changed their mind? I don't know. I don't even know. I don't get it. It's kind of conflicting arguments and conflicting thoughts at the same time. What is it that you're criticizing?
I think this spawned from a video by Lyle McDonald. I don't know if you saw it.
Okay. No.
He did a video a couple of weeks ago. It was actually the same day I did a podcast with Mike, which hasn't come out yet. And I was just listening about, someone was just talking about you. You're not going to want to know who. He was like, who was it? I was like, I'll give you one guess. And he was like, the person I can't talk about. I was like, yeah. And I think... I can't even remember what the video I think it was just because Lyle was basically saying, you guys were fine with this study by Brad Schoenfeld that was like 45 sets. And now you're saying you're recommending lower volumes. But I mean, I think Lyle even said in the video himself, he didn't watch Mike's video. He just read the title of it. I don't know if other people told him what the video said, but like, you got to watch the video if you're going to like critique the video.
Yeah.
I think the video title was like, are you doing too much volume? And so he just took that as Mike saying, like, I don't know, lower volume. I don't know. It's Lyle, you know.
It is Lyle.
And then Lyle's followers.
Yeah. On that note, let's take a short break, and then we will be back in a couple of seconds.
Do you not see the progress you would like? Are you sick of writing your own programs? Or perhaps you need some accountability in order to stick with a plan? Then it's time to start working with us. We at Revive Stronger offer a truly personalized coaching service. You'll get more than just an email with some macros or random cookie cutter program. With Revive Stronger, you will be the center of our attention. You will receive your own fully individualized training protocol alongside a customized nutritional strategy. We created the coaching around your needs, wants, personal preferences, and your own unique lifestyle. Every single week, we delve into your program in order to make appropriate adjustments so that we get the most out of your time and the best possible outcome. We help both female and male athletes to seriously change their body composition by adding more muscle mass and decreasing fat tissue. No matter if you're a competitive bodybuilder or just want to look better, if you need help with your progress and taking your physique to the next level, our coaching is for you. It's time to make a change. Sign up today and let's revive stronger.
So yeah, I don't even think that we need to further talk about this. On the other hand, I just think that if you change your mind, if more evidence is being presented to you, either via observation or via new studies, or maybe a combination of the two, I think it's always good to be able to change your mind. If you don't, then I have a bigger problem than people changing their minds. And those people criticizing people to change their minds are just like baffled all the time.
It makes no sense.
Doesn't make any kind of sense at all. Because then you are promoting a dogmatic behavior and an opinion rather than an evidence-based approach.
And even, like, I guess people can try and critique Mike and be like, but you're team full ROM or whatever, and now look at this evidence and, like, whatever. It's like, yeah, but that you have to, he explained in the podcast, it's like, that was never like a statement that full ROM is clearly, like, it just wouldn't make sense for Mike ever to do that, because it's not the type of person he is. He's not like ever going to say, this is the one way to do things always. It's a case of, he's always open to, and he has changed his mind on things with, I think, like if you go all the way back, he was previously, I think, his chat with Eric Helms on Jeff Nippard's podcast, that allowed him to rethink the volume landmarks and come up with like an MEV, MAV, MRV type of setup. And I think there's other things he's changed his mind on in terms of like longer maintenance periods, slower rates of gain, but people still pick on him for all those things. And it's just like, man, if you pick on people for everything they've changed their mind on, again, it comes back to what you said, like you're not promoting science.
To me, it doesn't really matter who says what, to be honest. Of course, I have my personal thoughts and opinions on certain people. And because of that, I'm also fully aware of my pre-biases when certain individuals say something. And this is then where you, as an individual, have to take responsibility to be aware of those pre-biases, try to then just listen to what they have to say and consider what it is that they are telling you. And I don't care who says what. I've stated it often enough that, because we've now talked about Mike, that there are certain things that I wholeheartedly disagree with. And I've said it a couple of times. And there were other things in the past already with other individuals where I said it the same thing. For me, these are just people who have their observations, their opinions based on their experience and maybe their interpretation of the literature. And that is totally all right. I don't care who stands behind those arguments, to be honest. And I think it's super important to detach or to separate the two from another. Because otherwise you're criticizing a person and not what they may theorize or anything alike. And if they are full of shit, of course, give them fire. I don't care. Right? Because I mean, there's a lot of garbage out there. Let's be real here. And then feel free to give them fire. But at the same time, even this, I have a hard time with accepting or finding it appropriate. Because if you disagree with something, if you dislike something, do you really then have to talk about this? And I've seen it so often already on social media, and especially like YouTube is full of something like this, to building a name for yourself on the back of someone else. And I freaking despise it. I honestly despise it, because you are not being known for your work. You're being known for shitting on the work of someone else. And by that, you're building your reputation. And I simply don't like something like this. This is just me.
Yeah, I never like those videos where it's like they do whatever the green screen is and they play the video and that person's talking, then they come in and they're like, this person's full of shit.
Yeah.
To let me tell you why. And it's like, can't you just stand on your own shoulders and just do that content without having to try and stand on the shoulders of someone else's, like, and to bring someone else down who I think in their right mind is trying to do good, like, even if they're not necessarily like...
I mean, I can see a situation where this may be appropriate, where someone is actually then harmful to their environment and to others and deceiving and scamming people and stuff like this. But if it's just, I don't know, someone has a theory and then you give him shit for what they believe is the case for, I don't know, whatever, I think it's just wrong. And if you're then building a following around this, I even also think that it's wrong.
I think you're right. There's like a balance there, because I think Lane Norton is someone who does a lot of those sort of like call out videos, but he does it on people who already have like majorly big followings. He's not doing it to people that, like, I don't know, are interacting with 100 followers who ultimately aren't going to be doing as much harm as someone with millions of followers. He calls out that guy. I don't even know the guy, like, who basically bashes everything that like, he just has no like scientific credibility from what I gather.
I mean, just today, I saw a video of Goop, where he highlighted a female who is all about body positivity, show the cellulite and all the kind of stuff, be very honest and true and transparent. And she's selling some, I think it's kind of garment and stuff like this, you know? And then she even makes fun about people still photoshopping their pictures. And then he was just giving her the fire because she was photoshopping nearly all over pictures, and that type of hypocrisy is just insane, especially when you're making money off of that. Or when we just go back to someone like Liver King, right? He's a perfect example now for something like this, I think, where then the deception is being monetized. And I mean, for something like this, I can then definitely see the benefits of exposing or talking about someone. If it's basically kind of a pyramid scheme or a scam or something like this. But most people, especially in our niche, I think they have good intentions.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think you said it right as well. And I think we've spoken about this before, but if you are going to do it, you have to remove the person from it, the argument, and just kind of go and talk about their points that they're making. Not like, I don't know, look at this idiot saying this. It's like, look at these points. They don't make sense for this reason type of thing. Which I think actually, again, Lane does a good job of that. He isn't attacking that. Whoever's saying it, he is more so attacking what they've done. And same with Goob here. Like, he isn't attacking that girl for her, like, as an individual. It's more so, man, you're saying this, but you're doing this. That's pretty hypocritical, and you're deceiving your followers to do that. And in that situation, I don't know what I guess it's an interesting discussion. I don't know what harm she's doing necessarily if people believe what she's saying. I don't know. But it does seem wrong.
You could open up a can of worms with something like this.
It's lying.
Yeah, that she's promoting body positivity, but doesn't really stand for it herself. And then maybe she still creates a wrong image for even younger females and all that kind of stuff. But then it's up for speculation. And I don't even want to go down that route. People are spending so much time in disproving what other people are standing for or what they are saying and all that kind of stuff, while neglecting coming up with their own unique thoughts and ideas.
Just as a comparison, Liver King would be a good comparison, because ultimately what he was promoting in terms of some of the things, like, I don't know, I mean, he was promoting some real shit, but within there was like, oh, go out and get some sunlight, do some exercise, get your sleep. Like, those were good things. But he was kind of promoting that you can get his physique naturally. And it's like, but if people do that and then they can't get that physique naturally, they're going to be like, well, that doesn't fucking work. So similar with her, like, she's promoting all this body positivity, but then people are like, yeah, but I'm never nowhere close to how you look, because she is editing the photos. So it just becomes so unrealistic. So actually, I think you're right in that it actually doesn't help. Even when they think they're trying to, I think it just helps them feel like they're doing a good thing. And it lets them lie almost.
Yeah, but then again, it's like you said, and it's more like a philosophical question of like, are they really harming people? Not really, I would assume. I don't know. I can't imagine that people now look at their social media and be like, I didn't achieve that look myself naturally. That's why I now have to, I don't know, cut my throat or whatever. I don't know. I just think it's a philosophical thing, and it's just, I think it comes back to educating yourself as a consumer of social media content. Like, if something looks too good to be true, like, it's the same with like supplements or something, you're pretty sure it's garbage. Like, if someone's saying you can 10x your muscle growth, or like, I don't know, their physique looks a certain way, like, it's probably too good to be true if they're making it sound easy. No, absolutely. Steve, talking about supplements, is there anything that you've actually gotten rid of or actually now incorporated? Because I know that it has been a while ago since we've talked about supplements, and the general trend for us at least was to take less and less supplements, because we found for ourselves that it's just like doesn't really make that much of a difference anyway. And I haven't really bought any kind of supplements in a very long time, also due to then the price of supplements. So I don't even know whether the whey prices have finally come down again. I have no idea. Have you any kind of idea about this?
I am in a very blessed position, because I don't need to worry about it.
Take a look at him once again.
I actually end up having, the bad thing with that is, because it's so convenient and that I just have it, like, I end up having quite a bit of it. Like, I don't know if that's bad. Like,
yeah, I think it's great.
It's fine. But yeah, in terms of supplements, not written my basic. It's actually funny, because a client asked this recently, where he was just like, I haven't been like buying supplements and taking many for the last few months, but I want to, like, I've got a bit of a kick to like see if there's anything out there. Has anything changed? And I was like, oh, my basic supplement list that's been there for like a few years. I was like, not really. I did a bit of research. And I was like, maybe you could look into something like nitrates, because that seems to have some growing evidence. But whenever I look into having nitrates, I'm like, fuck me. Like, I have to drink beetroot juice and do all this shit. I'm just like, man, for how much benefit is it going to give me? It feels like a bit of a pain in the ass. But I've considered buying this like beat it stuff to try it and see if it does much. But it's like supplements, man. Creatine, again, is the best example of, it's the most researched and evidence-based supplement as an ergogenic aid that actually does help. But when I don't or do take it, I can't tell you I notice a difference. I just take it every day because I know it's got good evidence behind it.
100%. And I mean, in the end, if you're then expecting, and I've said it in the past already, if you are expecting to feel the supplements, they are probably not supplements. They are probably drugs, prescription drugs, or beta-alanine. Could also very well be, but then it doesn't really do jack shit. And even there, I was told by Joe Jeffrey that, for example, if you do the right dose, for example, then you shouldn't really feel a lot when it comes to steroids, because these are often then side effects. And I wasn't aware of that, because I had once a consultation with one of my athletes together with Joe, and he was then. It was very, very insightful, because I had no clue as well, right?
No. And
he was then talking through certain things, and some things I didn't even understand, which was very interesting, to be honest, because this was a field that I'm very much, I wouldn't say clueless about, but don't really know a lot about. And finding finally something that is in the fitness realm, in the bodybuilding realm, that you don't really know a lot about was very, very interesting, to be honest. And also there, he said that normally you would like to run doses, unless, of course, you want to really go IFBB Pro and all that kind of stuff, then you need to go hardcore and see how much you can tolerate and want to tolerate of the side effects. But if you are just starting out, for example, you shouldn't really feel the side effects because these are side effects. So
makes sense.
Like, I don't know, heavy acne, heavy water retention, sleep being impacted and all that kind of stuff. You want to actually then see and titrate things in order to not receive those, which was very interesting, right? And even there, you could then make the argument that if you do take drugs, and you don't want to go full bore, heavy, go and die at the age of 40, then you shouldn't really experience that many side effects, or at least in a controllable and also calculatable fashion.
Yeah, I guess that's where, especially if people go enter it with a ignorant mindset, they can get themselves in trouble, because it is almost like, not that more is better, but they might feel more of these like positive side effects, see bigger PRs, see faster gains, whereas actually I know the model, for at least on the enhanced side, seems to have like come to like a minimum effective kind of dose, where it's just like just do enough to like keep you gaining it, like, I don't know, a pace of a two year in deep natural who's like PRing every couple of weeks or something, so something like that. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, that's good, and it makes sense. I don't know where I was coming from with anything else, but know that supplement wise, I just started, as of like a couple of days, taking ashwagandha again, because I've got some, and I was just like, man, I'm feeling pretty beat up within this mesocycle. Week 4, maybe I'll just like introduce it and take it for like week 4 and 5, see if it helps with my sleep and stuff. But I think even ashwagandha takes a little bit of time to like kick in. Like, I don't think it's like an immediate thing. I know like some people, I think it would advise people to take it like post-workout, because then again, so you drives that kind of parasympathetic state or whatever. I'm like, I don't think ashwagandha has such an acute effect. Like, I haven't seen that researched. I've seen that ashwagandha helps sleep, but I'm not even sure it has to be taken pre-bed to help sleep. It just helps sleep via de-stressing through the day. Someone who's researched that more might know. The other thing I did want to buy though was L-theanine. I don't know if you've ever experimented with that, but I had found that to help my sleep. Like, I can just switch off a little bit faster when I'm feeling a bit more wakeful. So especially if I've had quite a bit of caffeine in a day. Could be placebo, because I know L-theanine and caffeine kind of balance each other out. So I'm like, I've had like quite a bit of caffeine today. Let's get some L-theanine in me. And it seems to help, but yeah, I haven't had that.
What is
for like
then the mechanism,
the
symbiosis of L-theanine and caffeine?
I don't know the kind of mechanism exactly, but you know, caffeine can sometimes give you the jitters.
Yes.
L-theanine tends to like remove
Not
the jitters.
Not happening to me anymore, like since ages, but I've heard about it, and I vividly remember it.
If you have a high dose of caffeine, you might get the jitters.
Probably,
so
yes.
L-theanine can kind of give you a calm focus versus like that jitters. I don't know the mechanism precisely, but I think it's like a 1-for-1 dose. So if you have 200 milligrams of caffeine, have 200 milligrams of L-theanine, and it should like balance itself, which can be nice if
kind of mimicking the adenosine receptors, or what is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember specifically now. Okay. I haven't looked into it for a long time. But yeah, on caffeine, I know someone said that I think they were going cold turkey in our Discord. And I was like, I haven't looked into this for a while. So I have an infographic coming out looking into like, should you cycle caffeine? And because there's quite a bit of research that basically says you still get the ergogenic effect, even if you have like a high caffeine intake, just generally. Like you will still get the ergogenic benefit. But obviously if you are high on caffeine all the time, that can impact your sleep, and you do get desensitized to some of the other things with the caffeine, as you mentioned.
I just recommend really digging into getting a coffee or becoming a coffee snob, because then you will probably enjoy an espresso. And because of the amount of espresso, right? Espresso has a higher amount of caffeine, of course, but you're not consuming as much as a normal cup of coffee. So many people always then think and mix it up that espresso has so much more caffeine, which in drop per drop is probably the case, but you are only consuming, what is it? Like shot.
25 mils, yeah.
Yeah, something like this in comparison to 200 mils. And you are then consuming way more of caffeine with a normal coffee, or especially something like this, way more. So switch over to espresso, and then you can have plenty of espressos throughout the day. It's getting expensive though then.
I've never been into espressos. I like having I used to want like as much coffee as possible, so I'd like have these huge mugs, and it's ridiculous. Whereas now I just like a 250 ml, just like a standard coffee. I like that. Yeah. But I don't know what your approach is to caffeine, but I basically just have one coffee a day, and then where I'm like, man, I'm a bit tired, or like if I'm dieting, maybe it will increase. Or if I have like a hard leg session and it's like week 4 or 5, I'll have maybe a bit of a pre-workout. But typically I just have like a baseline of just like a low dose of one coffee a day. And
for
that
me,
seems to work
it's
all right.
2 to 3 espressos. So 3 espressos when I don't have a Monster, 2 espressos and a Monster if it's like Wednesday.
And so, you have that pre-workout anyway, don't you?
Yeah, it's very early in the morning. An espresso alongside a whey shake, and that is like 4 or 5 in the morning. So, and I'm done with actually caffeine consumption by around 12ish. So, plenty in quotation marks time to get rid of it. But at the same time, this is also a genetic thing. Once again, how quickly you can get rid of caffeine. So it could very well be that I still have a high amount of caffeine in my system, or maybe a low amount. I don't know. I really don't know.
I think these are those sort of things where it's like someone who, like when I was massing, I used to be really picky about following a high carb, low fat mass. And I still follow that to some extent, partly because preferences, but also because I think there's something to it. But if sticking to that is causing you and same with caffeine, if reducing your caffeine causes you a high degree of stress, even some stress that you otherwise wouldn't have had, the benefit might not be worth the cost. We talk about this, and you're really good about talking this, Pascal, where like people are like, if this makes me 1% better, I'm doing it. But they don't think about, could it make them 5% worse? So they're 4% worse off for doing that thing because it just causes them stress and hassle, and it's not productive. So it's the same with caffeine. Whenever I see people go cold turkey, I'm just like, man, please taper it, because going like from like, I don't know, whatever dose, but probably the higher the dose to cold turkey, which is, I imagine people do that like peak during their overreaching week or their week pre-deload, and then they go cold turkey. I'm like, you must feel like garbage like in that. Just taper it down. It's also
way easier to taper it down, especially when you're gaining. I think that when you are gaining, because you feel full most of the time and you're not starting to abuse caffeine, it should be relatively easy to then taper it down, because I know it myself. There have been times where I was like, I want to have a third espresso, but actually I'm stuffed, I'm not hungry, and anything later than now is too late. So probably I will only have like 1 or 2 espressos then. Yeah. So it should be relatively easy to taper it down in a gaining phase. So if you really want to play around with it, do it maybe at the beginning of a gaining phase, and then be off of the caffeine by the end of the gaining phase.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where sleep is so imperative. Even small amounts of caffeine for some people can impact their sleep. So generally, I think like less is more. If you can keep it under 3 milligrams per kg on like most days, you're probably in a really good position. And then sometimes where you need it, and maybe like you said, when you're deeper into a diet, you might go push above that some days to just keep yourself going and adhering to the diet, which is ultimately super important. But yeah, people quickly get into a bad like negative feedback loop where they're like, I need more caffeine because I'm tired, but then the more caffeine makes them more tired, and then they might need more caffeine because they're tired, and that just makes them more tired. And I'm like, no, avoid that.
No, absolutely. Steve, I'm very much aware of your time, because you will be busy right after the, I wanted to say consultation, right after the recording. So let's end the show here. One more thing though, if people haven't seen it yet, we've just announced that the London seminar is taking place. It's not the London seminar anymore, it's London 23, because we are not doing a seminar anymore. This time it will be quite different. We have 2 days of training where it is that you can purchase a personal training slot, and it is highly exclusive. I can tell you this. It's only 3 people per training group, So it's not like we did it in the past years where it's then, 35 people for the training day. You have a general slot of 2 hours for then 3 people only. And also you have the opportunity or option to then get a masterclass. The masterclass tickets are limited though, where you get all of that. So the lifting technique ticket, the personal training ticket, and also 2 hours together with Mike, Nick, Jared, Steve, and I for 2 hours, just 5 people where we can discuss everything. In my opinion, and this is of course being very, very biased, but I would even say it, if I weren't taking part in that entire thing, it is a bargain, because just imagine, and I was talking to Mike about it, he said he would need to charge a ridiculous amount if he would still offer some consultations for just an hour. And this is 2 hours with 6 people, and you can basically ask everything. So go and check it out over at Revive Stronger. I will put the link in the description below. And yeah, this is all I want to say. Steve, do you have anything to add about this, or was this
all I know
right?
is one of the tickets went to someone I recently did a podcast with, Ryan. He got a masterclass ticket. He's coming all the way from Canada for this. So like people are saying, oh, can you do it in, don't know, Berlin or like wherever, New York, wherever they want to do it. And man, people are coming from all over the world. This is going to be a really exclusive event, really lots of fun. And yeah, the networking and all of that, this is the sort of thing, again, you're just never going to get from like online content. This is interactions and experiences that like almost priceless, and obviously there is a price on it, and we think it's worth it. So it'll be
and
great
that's
to see
exactly why we did it.
Wants to come,
right? Because what we've realized here the last year was those seminar days, they are great to get together and have a bunch of people there and interacting with another. But these are things that nowadays you can find online. Especially RP is doing plenty of videos of kind of shorter presentations, longer presentations, and all that kind of stuff. And people can find everything like this online. What can't be replicated online is that training experience. And that is why we were considering and actually doing this time just training days, where you then can book a time slot. You can then pick and choose what training or muscle group you want to train with, once again, 2 other people only in your training group, so that you can really get a hands-on experience with 6 other people, such as 6 other people, 6 other people in the sense that we are coaching and guiding you through the entirety of the day.
And these normally sell out. Like part of it was just obvious from demand, in that the VIP, which we used to call it a VIP day with the gym session, they'd sell out within like a few days. So by the time this comes out, I imagine there'll be far fewer tickets. We have more available this time, of course, because we're doing it over 2 days. But yeah, it's going to be a great experience, and I'm very excited for it.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you very much as always for tuning in, and we talk to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Losing weight fast while maintaining muscle mass. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It isn't though. It's reality, and we know how to do it, and we will help you achieve this. The Minicut Movement is an 8-week fat loss program to make you lose a huge chunk of fat while maintaining muscle mass at the same time. We will support you from the beginning to the end so that you see the results you would like to and come out of it much stronger. You'll receive a fully automated spreadsheet that is based on your nutritional needs. You can choose between 6 different male and female training templates. Over 30 videos will guide you through each and every single step of the Minicut so that you're getting the most out of your journey and that you always know what to do. But the best thing is that you can start whenever you want. The Minicut Movement is open 24/7. So if you want to learn more or you're ready to sign up, hit the link in the description below. So let's revive stronger together.